Okay, we're going to talk about multi-valued registers. So a register is a very simple concept. You just imagine it as a object that can hold some sort of values. So in a very simple case, we could just hold numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's say we hold all the way up to 9. So this would be the register. This would be like a 10-valued register. And at any point in time, it can hold one of its 10 values. So maybe it holds the value 4. So in a computer application, it's very useful to hold numbers. So this is going to be a way to hold some amount of numbers. It can hold 10 different values, 10 different numbers, one at a time. So in any sort of computer application, you'd want ideally to not just hold 10 values, you'd want to hold any number of them. Maybe 10 values is good now, but the next generation is going to come out. I want it to hold 20 values, or 30 values, 40 values. I want to be able to hold more than just 10. And with this, with one value, you can have someone read it, or someone write to it. So when you write to it, you're going to change the value from like a 4 to a 5. If you read from it, you're going to look inside of it, and you're going to be like, okay, it's holding a 5. That's what knowledge I've gained from this. So you might be thinking that, okay, if one digit can hold 10 values, one register is like a digit, it can hold 10 values, I should be able to make a 2-digit register. So this is 1 10 valued, 2 10 valued. So, and I can just sort of like box this all up and be like, okay, this can hold any number from like 00 up to 99. So this is now a 100-valued register, because it can hold 1 to 99, that's 99 numbers, plus 0, 100 values. And if someone wants to read this, they will come inside, and they can read one register one after another. So they'll read the first digit, they see the 9, they read the second digit, they see another 9, and they're like, okay, the value is 99. Or it could go in the same way, they'll change one digit. Let's say we were changing from 99 to 90. They would go through and be like, okay, 9's correct, but this 9 should be a 0 because I'm writing 90, so I'm going to go in and change that. Someone else can come in and read it, and they'd be like, okay, this has a 90 in it. But a problem might occur when you're changing multiple digits. Because like right now the register is reading 90, but let's say we want people to read and write at the same time. So if I come in and I want to change the number to be like 45, then I'm going to come in, I'm going to read, I have to change both of the values. Let's say that we change 4 first, or we could even change both at the same time, but one is going to change before the other. It's not going to happen exactly at the same time. There's going to be a slight delay at best, but at worst there might be a very big delay. Let's say this is the bad case where there's a big gap between when things change. So maybe I even tell both of them, I want to change you to be a 4, I want to change you to be a 5, but this is like a much better register maybe, or it just happens to change much faster just because I'm lucky. I have a very lucky fast write to this to change it to be a 4, but this 0 is quite unresponsive. So what could happen is, while this 4 is being changed to be a 5 to write in 45, someone could come in and read the value and be like, oh, I see the value is 40. They see this. The original value was 90, and then eventually this 0 is going to get updated to be a 5, and then it'll be 45. So the original value was 90. The new value is 45, but someone came inside, they saw this in-between state, this invalid value. They saw a 40, but that's neither the original nor the new value. It's completely useless, because the writer never wanted them to see a 40, it just happened to be written in. It's an error. It's not what you want. So it seems like it's quite difficult to like make a register, to like go from our 10-valued register to having more values, because you're like naive implementation just being like, oh, I have one digit, I could make 2 digits, hold 2-digit numbers, make 3 digits, hold 3-digit numbers. You'll run into the same sort of problem where you'll see sort of indeterminate values, and that can really like mess up a computer application, because maybe 90 and 45 represent like your bank account or something. Like if you have a much bigger register that represents your bank account, you're off by some digits. You wanted to send money to like your parents, but then you end up sending money to some random person because like you're off by a few digits. That would be really bad. So what people have done instead, to make this a bit better, is instead of reading like left to right and writing left to right, you can actually be a little bit more sophisticated about it. So let's say we want to deal with 3-digit numbers. Seems a lot harder, but we'll see. So let's say we're dealing with 2-digit numbers still. So 2-digit. We're going to fix this like 90 to 45 problem. We're not going to see 40 in the middle. So instead, what we can do is we will make our first digit be up here, and then we will have 10 other digits below it. So this would be like the 0, on this row it's the 0th, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. So, if I want to write in 90, I'll put a 9 up here, and then all the way over there, I'll put in a 0. And the way that you read this is you go to the first digit, like on the first row. So I'm going to be reading a value. I'm going to read that, and I'll be like, oh, that has a 9 in it. So I'll go then down on the second row and go all the way to position 9, and see that there's a 0 written in. And that's how I reconstruct my value. So I see a 9 and a 0. So right now, this value is 90. Let's say we want to write in a new value. Let's say we want to write in 24. What I will do is, I'll go to the second spot, I'll write a 4 in here first, I'll write from the bottom, I'll write a 4 in, and then I will change the top to be a 2. So now, what someone will read is, they'll see the 2 right there, that'll be the first value that they read, then they'll go down to spot 2, and then they will see that there's a 4, and they'll write in the 4. So this kind of gets rid of that problem with a 90-45 having a 40 in the middle, because now when I change both digits, I will first write in the new digit. So let's say we're going to change to 45 again. 4, 5. So I'm going to go to position 4. I'll write in a 5 first. And if you read this, you're going to only read the 24. Because right now, this 5 that I wrote in, I've already done half my work. I've done all the work from the bottom. No one can see this part. If someone's reading it, all they're going to see is the 24, the old value. But I've already done in this half. I can go in and then just immediately write in this 4. And then now, the work that I did before pays off, because when someone sees this 4, they're only going to see the 5 below it. So now, the 24 becomes a 45, and no one sees this 25 in between value where I haven't changed the 4 yet, perhaps. Or they don't see they don't see a 25, they don't see a 44, anything like that. They only see the 24 or the 25. So this seems like it works. People knew that this stopped you from seeing random values in between. But one thing that's problematic about this still is that if I have multiple people reading the register, multiple people reading my 2-digit sort of construction, you can still have some weird problems. This is what a paper that I wrote sort of figured out. It's so this reads very fast. If I want to read 2-digit numbers, I only need to read 2 different things. So that's about as fast as you could read it. Maybe we're going to see that if you only read 2 digits to construct a 2-digit number, you're actually going to run into problems. And the problem that you'll run into is fairly straightforward. So let's clear the register. Let's say that we have 0 written in. It's the basic number. 0 is written in. Then we're going to have someone read. So we're going to have reader 1 and reader 2. So 0 is written in. I'm going to say that reader 1 starts up reading the value that's written in. So he's going to go to the top. He'll see a 0. We're going to say he's a slow reader. So reader 1 is now going to be trying to see what's inside of this register, but he's very slow. So while he's going through and trying his very hardest to read this, he's very slow. So in the meantime, I'm going to say that the writer goes in and he's like, I'm going to change this value. He's going to change the value to be 11. So he's going to go in the bottom, go up to the top, and he's going to read that value. He's going to write in that value. So now the register holds an 11. So if someone went and read it, they would see this 1, 1, but still in the meantime, this reader that's very slow is actually still going through trying to read this value, which currently holds a 0. We're going to say that he's actually still so very slow that this writer is going to go in and be like, okay, 11's still not the value that he wants. He's going to go in and update it again. He's going to update the value to be 5. So he's going to go, so it's 5 is 0, 5. He's going to go in and he's going to write a 5 right there. And then now that he's written in this 5, I'm going to say, okay, this reader finally manages to read this value. So he sees the 5 in there. So he's like, okay, the value that's stored is a 5. So he finishes reading right now. He's done. He's seen the new value. The write is still going on. And while the write is still going on, the writer still needs to update this to be a 0, because he wrote in 5. So that is 0, 5. The first digit is a 0. He needs to write a 0 in here. But before he does that, I'm going to say this reader is very fast. They're going to go in and read this register. So they're going to go from the top. They're going to see this 1. They read a 1 first. And then they're going to continue down. They're going to read this other 1. And they're going to be like, okay, this register holds 11. They also finish their read. Now, finally, the writer is going to go through, and they're going to update the value to be a 0 at the top. So now the actual state is 0, 5. But you sort of saw that there was an inversion. We saw the new value. They just wrote in 5. This is the newest value. But then after they read this new value, they then saw an old value. So after the new value was seen, someone saw the old value. So the way that this sort of looks like is someone wrote 5 to the register. Someone wrote 11. At the very beginning, someone wrote 0. Then they wrote 11. And then they wrote 5. But then, here, someone read 5, and then someone read 11. So it's like, to the perspective of a reader, the history looks like, oh, you wrote 0, then you wrote 5, then you wrote 11. But in actuality, the writer wrote 0, then 11, then 5. The reader saw backwards from what actually happened, and that's not quite logical. You would think if you read a 5, and then you read a changed value, you read an 11, you're like, oh, they changed the value to be 11. But in reality, they changed it to be 5. Because 5 is the newest one, but it doesn't appear that way to the readers, because the newer value is 11. The newer value is 11, but it was actually an older value than you thought it was. So there's a problem with that, and it just so turns out that no matter how you try to read values, what we're able to show is that you're always going to run into a problem like this. No matter how you decide to put together your values, if you try to read just 2 digits to read 0 to 99, any 2-digit value, then you're going to run into problems. In fact, if you try to read from 0 all the way up to 9999 with any number of digits, and I only try to read in the first, the second, the third, the fourth, no matter what order I read it in, you'll run into problems. More mathematically, the number of digits it takes to represent a number, so if you have a number n, that would be log base 10 of n digits. So if you try to read log base 10 of n many values, and you want to store n different values, then you will always run into this problem. It's unavoidable, and that's sort of the cool part of the paper. But you can sort of see a very clean example of the problem that you would run into, and you can just trust that you can't avoid it. But that's it.